Hi, my name is Joey, and this is Phoenix #risingfromtheashes. This is part 2 of the video I put out just a few days ago. If it looks like I'm in my closet, it's because I'm in my closet. It's the only place that I can go to do this, that I can be alone and not freaking hot, because it's very hot. So I thought I should be alone to recount this part of my little tale because I was alone for all this part. And that alone is terrifying to me because I don't go places alone very often. Honestly, I really don't. But you know, when you get hauled off to jail, you got to do that alone. So before I go into any of the details here, I want to put out like a general trigger warning for this video, and there's going to be another part to fully sort of let this whole ordeal come full circle. But those two, this one and the next one, are definitely a trigger warning would apply. Talking about, well, being in police custody, being like drugs, alcohol, that sort of thing, drunk driving, all of that is what I'm going to be talking about. So, triggery. Be warned. Anyway, thank you for clicking on my video. Thank you. I hope you watch like the whole thing. That'd be great. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so as I said last time, I got to the point in the ride to jail where I heard over the radio that my partner had been delivered safely to the residence. So at that point, I felt like I could and I wouldn't say like exactly relax, but that I was free to just kind of shut off in that situation, because I knew going in that I had to be really, really reined in and controlled through this whole thing. Because what often happens to me, if it gets to the point where I lose control, it's not good. It's like really losing control. And I knew that if that happened, that would make this situation worse for everyone involved. Not just me, not just my family, but I was actually thinking of, the officers and the people that process people through the jail as well. Like, it's never my wish to, I guess, make a fuss. So I knew if I could just sort of hover on the outside of everything that was going on and be compliant, that would be the best way to get through this. So on the ride to the jail, I just kind of concentrated on doing that. I tried not to think about all the other stuff that I know goes along with this. But I'm certainly not ignorant. Maybe a little naive, but not ignorant. I understand there's a whole process, and this is what's going to happen, and basically you're going to pay. one way or another. So I tried not to think about all of that. Because again, that threatened my my like inner peace, or whatever you want to call it. Like my, maybe distance would be more the word. My inner distance from the situation. And so I didn't want to think about that. I just wanted to get to this place that we were going, get through this, bullshittery that they were going to put me through. And then I figured at some point they would put me someplace that they would just leave me alone. And that was what I was craving. That sounded good to me at that point, because it was past my bedtime, honestly, at that point. And I was extremely tired and in pain. And it was just, all of those things factor in and make it harder to not do things you might regret. So the only thing that was kind of making this difficult at this point in the drive was that it got very hot in that frickin' vehicle. And, they handcuff you with your hands behind your back, and the seats back there are not like padded or even upholstered. They're just, plastic. And like, I think they're rounded out. So it's like, because they expect people to have their hands behind their backs, but it's still painful. And when you're not used to that position or have back problems or whatever, painful. And Officer Sansa Stark had her heat, I think I mentioned before, had her heat way up in her front seat. And like, it was just, like I was just sweating, like sweat. I used to sweat more than I do now. I'm pretty sure it has to do with some medication that I was taking, and then I stopped taking that and went on to something else, and now it took the sweats away. Because I used to sweat so much, like in any situation that brought me the least little bit of anxiety. Sweat. And isn't that fun? Like, it's literally totally embarrassing, and makes wearing makeup like impossible. And it's awful. So, like I said, it doesn't happen to me very often now, unless I'm under mental stress or very hot. So I was both of those things, and like the sweat's pouring down. And of course I didn't want attention drawn to this, because, then Officer Sansa Stark's going to think we have a different sort of problem. That causes one to sweat. And I just didn't want her to, like, think there was anything else going on with me than what was, like, literally on the surface, because there wasn't. And I just didn't want any hassles. So we pulled up to the jail, detention center, whatever. It's in a part of the city that I've never seen before. I think it was actually outside the big city, and it was more like some kind of suburb or something, but it was like way the fuck out. To me, to my eyes, I'd never been there, so it was very foreign and scary. And all I kept thinking was that, like, I have to find my way out of this place tomorrow. Hoping, obviously. I wasn't, like, too sure, but figuring, and I don't know where I am. Terribly frightening to me, personally. I don't know if everyone has reoccurring dreams, but if there's one reoccurring dream I've ever had, it's that I am suddenly finding myself in a different place of a familiar place. In other words, like a different part of the familiar city that I'm in, or something of that nature, and totally alone, and have to get back to my home. And that's like something I've dreamt of like many times in my adult life, and I thought to myself, oh my God, that's like coming true. Anyway, I digress. So we pull up to the jail and pull up to where I guess we need to go in. And I guess to torture me, Officer Stark, well, like she's sitting there on her computer, she's writing, whatever. But we can't go in for whatever reason. So we're sitting in the car is completely on, so the heat's blasting. And we're sitting there, and my hands are, behind my back, digging into the small of my back, which is where I have all my problems, and, it's agony. And the heat's blasting still, and she's doodling on her computer, and I'm just sitting here thinking, why can't we go in? And I think she talked on her little radio like a couple times, but I don't recall what she was saying, like if she was indicating some sort of reason or, for the delay. But finally, after like 15 minutes or so, we finally get out of the truck to go into the building. So she gets me out of the truck, and once we get in the light of the building, like by the door and going in, she notices that, that I'm sweating. And I said something to the effect that it was hot in the car, and, oh, well, you could have told me to turn down the heat. Whatever. I'm sorry. I was busy. I was busy having an out-of-body experience in the back of your car to tell you to turn the fucking heat down. Maybe you should have looked back at your prisoner passenger person and like seen that they were dripping sweat, which they couldn't wipe off because my hands were tied behind my back. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm getting way too... Yeah, I'm getting a little angry. Okay. Up the truck. Just positive. Okay, sorry. I can't guarantee that won't happen again. I've never really told this whole thing. The only person that knows any of these details is Angie, and I've always talked about it in like little bits and pieces. It's a trigger. This is a very triggering, traumatic thing to happen to me. Not saying, oh, I had it so bad. I'm not trying to like compare experiences at all. Because like literally the Elise Pay don't treat people that nice, like as a general rule, from what I, have observed in life. Not just by experience, but like the world around me. So when I let go like I just did and get a little upset, then I feel like I'm kind of woe is meing it, and I'm not. It's hard to talk about. So forgive me for when it happens again, and etc. And I will try to like stop the camera at least and spare you guys my drama. Okay? So back to where I was. We got in the building. They commented on my sweating. I said, honestly, I'm just nervous and really, really hot. I think I probably mentioned my pain again, because I did a few times during the sobriety test, and you know, I didn't see a reason to not mention it. No one was making it worse by anything they were doing other than what would be a standard procedure. I certainly wasn't not expecting to be handcuffed, but you know, the longer you keep in that position, the more it's going to hurt. Like, that's just how it goes. So we get into a room that is like, that's got some ladies in it that don't look like they per se are like officers. They look like nurses, or I don't know, nurse practitioner. I don't know. They looked like they were there to do medical stuff, not to wrangle people. So I thought to myself, okay, well, let's just, maintain this. All right. And, I submitted to all their blood pressure, temperature, this and that, like, standard stuff, really. And then they had to, like, sit me in the, well, no, they put me in the chair to do all those things, handcuffed you to the chair. And, but it wasn't behind my back, so I was fine with that. So, like, next, they're going to do the blood test. Now, mind you, I can't refuse this blood test. Like, I don't see any way out of it. So, in my mind, I'm just gonna, be as nice about this as I possibly can be. And I think they had me sign something, your life away or whatever. And they drew the blood, and it seemed to me like they didn't have, like, or they didn't think they had enough, or they couldn't get their little test doohickey filled or something. I'm not quite sure. But it seemed to me like there was some delay there. Then they got it sorted out, and Officer Stark was there the whole time. She might have even been the one that put the blood, it was like a little kit or something, and she might have been the one that put the blood in there. But she seemed very concerned with getting that done. And once that was done, I think they put me in a cell at that point. Because I don't think we did the whole, or maybe they did the whole patting down thing. They do, trigger warning, they pat you down, take your shoes off. I had earrings in for the first time in, I don't know, since before the kid was born, I think. I have 3 holes, but I very rarely put earrings in 3 holes. But I had put earrings in 3 holes a few days prior to this event, and you take them all out, That grossed me out to no end. That was worse than taking my blood. I can't stand people putting earrings or like anything like that, or taking them out. It's a little freaky to me. But anyway, they did that. And honestly, their pat down was like, pretty standard. Like, I've seen them, do this to crying children and little old ladies in the airport. Like, same kind of thing. Same thing. People have no dignity anymore. But anyway, so it was not a problem. At that point, I was put, I'm forgetting the order it was in. See, at one point when I first got there, I was put in a cell and just like left for, it must have been at least an hour or more. And then they brought me out and like did more of the processing process, whatever you call it. And then they were going to bring me out into a waiting area. And I could have stayed out there, but I said no. But I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm trying to think of a way to delicately say this next part, because I would be wondering about this too. It's one of the things that, trigger warning, that's always freaked me out about the whole like being arrested process. I think I can say it without saying it. So, like in my mind, my perception of my physical body is quite bad, or at least it used to be. And between the like crippling shame of that and the absolute terror that I've always had, fear of I don't know how to say this, but trigger warning and much respect. But being, assaulted in that way. Terrible fear. And I think that that's always played into the fear of like being arrested, or, this sort of situation this very situation that I was in, is how I was going to handle that. And so the two female officers, they're leading me into a more private area, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're like, well, we don't have to do this then. And the other one's going, oh no, the arresting officer, might have said her name, but I can't remember, Officer so-and-so wants it done. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so like there's literally a question that you can spare me this humiliation and indignity, but the arresting officer thinks we need to go ahead and do it. So I was like kind of tripped up about this a little bit. But I said, no, I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word. I can do this. That's fine. There are no male people around. That's fine. So I will say this much about the say. Nobody laid a finger on me. Nobody, even came close to me in any way. And that was fine with me. The officer that was kind of in charge of it, the one that said, oh no, Officer so-and-so said that we have to do it. And, she was, she was all right. She was fine, whatever. So just do what she tells me to do. And like the whole thing that we're doing, series of movements, she's telling me in the whole, don't you know how to take directions? She's like literally questioning my ability to follow directions. And I just thought that was rude. Honestly. Like, lady, I'm here. I really think you guys mentioned that whole thing about the arresting officer wanting this test or whatever search done to try and get a rise out of me. And now you're telling me I don't know how to follow directions. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I've been on the pain scale of 6 to 7 for several hours now. I'm fully in mental sort of like overload. And you say I don't know how to follow directions. Okay. This conducted the search, and we were done, and like, okay. So now the next part that comes is the like paperwork sort of thing. So I have to meet with a lady over a desk that's not an officer. She's like a, like an administrative position. And, they take down all your information. They ask you if you want a public defender, yada, 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 yada. And I think they had to call my house to talk to Angie. I can't remember why, though. But I was not able at this time to make any sort of phone call. And it seemed to me like this would be the time that I would be doing that, because I was in like this big, I don't know, sort of room with a bunch of like counters, and you go to various stations on the counters and complete different processes involved in all this. And there's an area that had telephones. And I thought, well, those must be the ones that you get to make your, like one phone call on or whatever. And I just really wanted to be able to touch base here and just let my partner know that I was okay. As okay as I could be. Because I knew she was freaking out. Maybe more than I was. And like, I just felt really upset that, I was upsetting everybody. And I knew I wouldn't be there the next morning when my kid woke up. And, like, I tried not to think about these things right then and there. And, so I didn't say anything about, like, the phone call. I think I mentioned, no, at this point I did not say anything. And maybe I should have, because maybe they would have let me make a phone call. But the lady that I was talking to, the administrative lady, she called my home and did speak to my partner and was able to, confirm that I'm like at least okay and, alive and what have you. And I thought, well, like, I'll say something at some point about making a phone call, but, my partner can go to sleep now, because this is as much information as, she's going to get. And so, like, it's okay. So I'm in this room with a bunch of chairs that are tied together, not tied together, like an airport chair, like all attached. And they have armrests in between them. And they're like not great to sit on. And they tell me that I'm spending the next, I don't know, 8 hours maybe in this chair in this room. The telephones were on the other side of a wall that had a TV on it, and like the seats in the middle of the room were for the men, and the seats on the outer edges were for the women, and I did not want to spend that time sitting there. Because what happens with me is, and I knew this because of when I was in the cell spending so much time in there, and I was pretty much there by myself. There was another lady there for a little while, but I was mainly just there by myself. And like when I'm nervous and upset and whatever, I sway this constantly, all the time, even when I'm in a good mood, all the time. It drives everyone crazy, not the least of which me. But between that and laying down on the bench, I was like, I can't stay out here in this lobby area and be in this chair, because I'm again, it was like, it was threatening that sort of little control I had over the situation. Finger quotes twice in 2 minutes. Wow. Okay. It was bad. I had to go back into the cell, and I actually requested to go back in there. So, they took my mug shot. I think I had a really good mugshot, though. Like a really fitting mugshot for the situation. I looked like a real pissed off Italiano. As my hair was like, because when I'm nervous, and that time that I spent alone in there before they came out and did all the other processing and took your picture and this and that, and I'm going like this with my hair. I'm not going to do it right now because my hair actually looks nice. But like when I'm in that sort of mind frame of like extreme anxiety and what have you, do the hair all the time. So my hair was like this, my face was like this. I was kind of proud of that. I thought, at least I look really pissed off. But I didn't actually feel like, I mean, I was of course pissed off at myself because this had happened. You know, I wasn't proud. Okay, I'm sorry. So, as I was saying, I spent the night in the cell by myself instead of in the lobby where I could have been around other people. But I was not allowed to lay down on the seats. I asked, and I mean, they had an arm in the middle, so it would be sort of impossible. But I would have made it work, like, if I had to. Because I can't sit still. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep, and I can't sit still. I'm constantly like swaying or getting up and laying down and switching to the other side and laying down, and like my back is aching so bad, and I can't hardly lay down on this bench, and it was a very restless night. And I did not need it to be restless in my head, so I really didn't try to dwell on the ramifications of this situation. The next morning, I guess, I don't remember if I ever slept. I don't think I did. I think I got kind of delirious at one point because I was thinking of when they finally came to get me out of the cell, like complimenting them on their what was my thought, like positive work environment in the face of all the male screaming that was going on. And I was like, you need to go home and go to sleep, because that was ridiculous. So I'm pretty sure I didn't sleep. But I did think I needed to compliment them on their accommodations. So finally, at some point, they come and get me out of the cell, and they lead me along with a line of, I don't know, about 5 other guys maybe. I was the only girl, but you know, I was like in front of the line for some reason, I guess, and they were all behind me, and they led us around to various sort of stations where we had to pick up our stuffs and various things. And I get up to the final like place. I have all my things. Get up to the final place, and you want to pick up like paperwork about court dates or whatever. And I ask them, they tell me, do you want a bus ticket? I ask them, well, can I, make a phone call? No. And there's phones right behind the lady that's behind this window giving me my things, like in the next room or something. I can see them from where I'm standing, if memory served me correctly. Oh, those phones, they don't always work, she tells me. I'm like, so I can't make any kind of phone call to get picked up from wherever this is. No one was willing to accommodate that. So this man that's sitting, one of the 5 men that's waiting, like me, to get processed out, volunteers his cell phone. I did not have my cell phone because I made sure I didn't take it out of the car, and I did not ask for it. They tried to give it to me. The arresting officer tried to give it to me, but I was like, no, just, let my partner take it home. Mainly because I just didn't want their filthy hands on it. So I had no phone. And I don't know, maybe it was like too expensive of a call. They couldn't let me make that call. But thankfully, this nice man said I could use his phone. And so I'm sitting there in the like, they have us like sit on the wall along where this window is located, where people are getting their information and getting checked out. And so I'm sitting at the front of the line, so I can basically kind of hear what each dude is saying to the helpful chick behind the counter. And I can hear their birth dates, so I know that they're all like, all of them except one is either my age or younger than me. And the one that was a little older than me, that fellow was in a wheelchair and had like a false leg. And there kept being a holdup because like the cops didn't want to accommodate him on helping him get his leg back on, because apparently they took, like, it's in different components how it's put on, and they had them all in different places, their little stations. So I remember there was like a lot of back and forth sort of complaining in a way, low-key complaining about having to accommodate this man. And as I'm sitting there in front of the line, 2 tall male officers, they're standing at the foot of this line, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 feet from me. And they're like looking down at the line of people before them. And they're like talking amongst one another about how criminals ain't what they used to be. And basically we're implying that we were disappointments among criminals. Like, we weren't good enough criminals for them. So I'm looking at the guy in the wheelchair who is just wanting to get his leg back, you know. And the youngest guy there, who I'm pretty sure was, I mean, he was there with the men, so he was male, but like, he looked pretty non-binary to me. Like, he looked vulnerable among those other men. Because the other men were very, they weren't very, like, big men. They weren't, like, huge, tall men, like, you know, the knowledgeable cops. But they were, they looked more, I don't know, hardened, maybe. But at the same time, none of them really looked like hardcore criminals. And I guess that's what the police were talking about. Like, they're just not good enough for us. Give us a what is good enough for you? Like, what? Like, I just thought it was ridiculous. Okay, they sounded like caricatures from a movie or something. It was stupid. Like, you can't make this crap up. So anyway, they, you know, the two tall macho male cops lead us out of the building, and we're put out into the daylight, and it's like probably, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, I think. And it's like almost like just barely light, like it was not been light very long. And all the time that I had been in there, I had been trying to sort of not think about this moment, because like, it was totally terrifying. Because here I am, I have, like I said before, I had no idea where I was. No idea. And this man did say I could use his phone, and I kind of stuck next to this group of guys that was along with me, and they all waited at the bus stop that was right outside the place. And I sort of just waited for them to make their phone calls, and, you know, I basically just had to work myself up to asking this guy if I could indeed use his phone. And he let me use his phone, and I called my partner, and like, it wasn't a problem. She came and got me right away, and it was fine. But it was terrifying, because that was one of my worst fears, being put someplace like that I don't know where I am and can't get away home. So, I mean, that was like a little nasty little cherry on top of that situation. So, thank you for watching my video. I think that's about it. That's like, that sets it right up for the consequence portion of the tale. And that'll be in part 3. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.